Hey guys, it's Roby here from the Divi Engine team with another installment of our How to Clone Any Online Store with Divi and WooCommerce tutorial series. Today we're going to be looking at the product page and how we build that out using the built-in Divi Theme Builder. It's going to be a great learning experience on how to customize and duplicate layouts that you find online that you'd like to use on your own store. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right back into it by looking at the Abercrombie & Fitch site and what we'll be duplicating today. Okay, so here we've got the Abercrombie & Fitch product page. Now, when you look at this, it kind of has this top banner here, and then right below it, it's got the breadcrumbs. We've got our image here and our image gallery for the product, and then we've got a title, got a divider, looks like the different variation options, some attributes, and then the add to cart section. They also added this button here where you can go ahead and see some of the shipping and handling details. Now, a lot of these things we are able to do with the default Divi, but things like these fancy variations and these sizes, as well as this gallery, are things that you'd only be able to do in Divi with something like WooCommerce, which is one of our plugins here at Divi Engine that helps you extend the functionality of Divi and WooCommerce for your site. So what we're going to start with, we're going to go from top to bottom. First, we're going to skip this banner here. We're going to start with the breadcrumbs and then go all the way down until the page is finished. And for banners like this, we're going to cover that in a later portion. So let's get over to the theme builder and look at how we're going to be able to do this. Okay, so to kick it all off, we'll need to go to the theme builder. So on the back end of our Divi site, we're going to go down to Divi here, theme builder. And now we need to add a new template for that product page. So we're going to click on add new template. And then we need to go and scroll down to the actual product section. Now you can add a template for specific products, or you can do specific tags, different categories. It's entirely up to you. We're going to keep it to all products for this tutorial, and we're going to say create template. Now once that's done, we need to add the custom body, and you'll see that it copied over the global header and global footer. If you had an individualized footer or whatever, or header that you wanted to use, you'll just delete that out and add that in. But we're going to keep it as is, and we'll build the layout. Now it dumps you into this kind of like pre-structured section with a row as well. We are going to go firstly, and we're going to go ahead and create that top bar, like we said, this part right here with the breadcrumbs in it. So we're going to add a single column row. And we're not going to add a module at this moment. We're just first going to adjust this a little bit. So we're going to go ahead into the settings for the row. We'll go to design. And then what we're going to do is adjust the sizing to make it a nice full width sizing. And then we go to this, and we're going to set that to 2560. And then we just need to add a little bit of padding for that module that'll be going in there. So next up, we're going to go to spacing. And we're going to add padding of 10 pixels, top and bottom. So we just link them up like that. And that should be it for this. So there we can see that it's nice and narrow. It's going to suit our purposes very good. And then we'll just add that breadcrumbs module in there. Breadcrumb. And it's already all the way to the left there. Now we need to, if we look here, adjust that little chevron to match that. So we can just change the separator. There we go. And then maybe we want to use a light font for this. So let's go with light. And that looks good. And then we need to adjust the background to match that off grayish color. Let's just make sure F6, F6, that's what we want. And then we need to adjust some spacing settings here as well. We're going to go add some margins. So back to the spacing area on top and on bottom, but we want to make that 0 so that it takes up a little bit less space. And then we want to add some left padding of 5% so that it indents it just a tiny little bit. That looks much better already. Now we want to do one more thing here, which is remove that top margin or padding, I think, on the section. So let's go to design of the section settings, spacing, and then padding top, make that 0, and boom. Okay, now that is looking the way we want it to look. Fantastic. Now next, we're going to build out the rest of the product page by adding those two columns with the image on the one side and all the product information on the right. So let's get to that in a moment. Okay, so trucking along here, we want to add these two columns, one that's going to contain the image and then the rest that's got all the product info in there. So we're going to go back to our theme builder here, and we're going to go and add a 2-column row. Now in that first column, we're going to dump in a Woo images module. So I just type Woo, I look for images and select that. And for the most part, we can leave the settings on this module as is because we're not going to be removing any elements or anything like that. We wanted to show all the images, but you can tick things off and on here as you see fit. And we'll take a look in a little bit what that looks like on the front end of our site. But for all intents and purposes, this is all we need to do for the first column. Now, as we discussed, the default view on a Divi WooCommerce site is going to be to have these variation options and extra images at the bottom of our image down here. The only way you can have different gallery options is to utilize BodyCommerce or a similar plugin that lets you customize these various nuances to create that really bespoke feel. But for the purposes of this tutorial, we're going to keep it as is. So we've got that one ready to go. And next we'll fill in all the product info. Okay, so now to keep things flowing here, we're going to start building out this right column for the product information, the add to cart, and any additional information. And we're actually going to break up this process into those 3 steps. We're going to focus on this top part, which is just product information, which is going to contain, the title, the price. This says Corp for Colombian peso. That's where I find myself today, in Colombia. And next up, you've got like product details here, and then the add to cart part. So, and then at the way bottom, we've got all this extra information. So we can focus on that last. So let's jump into the first part here by going to the back end of our site again. And for the second column, we've got a title up there, which is the next thing we'll want to add. So let's hit the plus button here. And then we're going to go ahead and type Woo to bring up our WooCommerce modules. And then we'll look for the Woo title module. And there we go. That will bring up our product title. And then all we need to do is kind of adjust the bottom margin, because if we want this price to be nice and snug up here, we're going to need to reduce that a little bit. So let's go to design. We'll go to spacing. And then for the bottom margin, we're just going to put it at 10 pixels. And that's that for that one. So next in, and of course, as with anything, you can adjust the design, the title text, the weight, all that fun stuff. That's entirely up to you. This is just kind of trying to replicate for the most part what that Abercrombie & Fitch site looks like. So let's add the price module next. So let's type in Woo once again to filter our options here. And then we'll find Woo price. Okay, so that's looking okay, but we're not loving the colors going on over here, and we might want to reduce some of the weight in the text as well as maybe the text size a little bit. So we just keep these settings here as is. You can do all sorts of other crazy things, but you always want it to be this product because we want it to relate to the product that we're looking at. So let's go to design and go to price text. Here, I'm going to make the price a light font, and let's take a look here. We're going to use our dark blue color, and then we're going to change the text from 26 down to 16. And that is looking a little bit more reminiscent of what we've got going on here on the Abercrombie & Fitch site. So we're going to say that's cool. And then next up, we need this divider line that we got going on. So let's go back here and then do add module. And we just type in div. That'll bring up the divider. That looks pretty decent, but we need to change the color of the divider a little bit. So we'll go back to the design tab, line color. And then this charcoal color that they used is probably just C. And then again, we're gonna adjust that bottom margin in the spacing section just to keep things nice and snug down to about 10 pixels. And then we'll just go ahead and Finish that one. Now, next up, we've got some product information. We're not going to be matching this identically just because of the way that the Divi add to cart module works. Again, with WooCommerce, you've got different modules for the attributes and things like that, and you can switch them around. So we're going to do our best to mimic what they did on the Abercrombie & Fitch site. But if you really wanted to match 100%, you'll obviously need something like WooCommerce, which is a great tool to have, and that's my plug for that. Okay, so let's go and add another module here. And we type in Woo once again. And this time we'll add the Woo description section or module. Now what you can do in here is you can tell it, use the long or the short description. I don't have a long description for that. Oh, actually I do. There's the long description. But we're going to do short description for this one. And you can do all the other settings like change the background. We're just going to make that text a little bit lighter because that's kind of the theme that they use here on the Abercrombie & Fitch site. And you know what? Maybe we'll add 1 pixel of letter spacing there. Or maybe even one's too much. Let's go with 0.5. Half a pixel of letter spacing. It just makes that text stand out a little bit more. And I think it's something similar to what they use here on the Abercrombie & Fitch site. And if you're really a stickler, you would right click, inspect. Let me drag this over here. And then you would go through the actual CSS here to go ahead and find out, well, what type of letter spacing do they have? Nothing in here, but there might be a different section where they utilize it. So that's just a little extra information. I'm using Chrome, of course, so that would be your guide on doing that with Chrome. Okay, so let's bump back here to our backend of our site. And we need to add some more things in here. We've got a description module with the text there. Now we're going to go ahead and add the additional information module. So just plus again. And then we're going to go ahead and type in Woo. There's the additional info. And if we drag this over, we see that that would bring in all of that extra content right there. We don't need too many things in here. We just don't like that title that's on there. So elements, we're going to switch the title off. And now what it'll leave is just the information there. So yeah, you'll see the brand, you'll see the size, and that is kind of what we want. Just gives the user, the visitor on the site, that extra little bit of info. So that is that for this small section of the tutorial. We're going to go next part. We're going to go ahead and build out the add to cart section, and we'll see how to do that. So stick with us. Take a break if you need to. We're going to continue in a second. Okay, so continuing on here, we're going to go ahead and add this little shipping notice for free shipping here, right before we wrap up and continue with the add to cart module. So let's go back here, and I actually forgot to do that in the previous step, so that is my bad. So let's just go ahead and add a text module, and then it adds all that dummy content, but we're just going to delete that out and type in free shipping on orders over 150, because as you remember, when we did the initial setup in the first part of the tutorial series, we added that free shipping option for orders over 150, and this is where we make good on that promise. And we want to make sure that we underline that, and then we're going to go to design. We're going to go ahead to text. We're going to make this light text, and we're going to add some letter spacing here. And we're going to go with that 0.5 again, and that looks pretty nice. Cool. Now, because we set those global settings in the beginning, we can set it to blue again, but that would be redundant as we already set that in the global settings for the site because this is body text, so that's fine the way that it is. So just go ahead and check that box. Now for the coup d'etat, we're going to add that add to cart button. So we're going to go Woo, and then the first option there is add to cart. Okay, so we've got this up here. Now we need to make some changes. We're going to first go to the elements, and just if you wanted to, you can switch different elements on and off here, showing the stock or not. We're actually turning the stock option off because we'll be adding that below this section. So let's go to design really quick. And now we need to start fleshing it out. You see that we added our color options here, the sizes, and that button is sort of nicely styled already for us. But as you can see, it looks a bit different on the actual Abercrombie & Fitch site. We're going to try and match this overall style. So let's come back here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to open up the field section here. And the field's background color we'll set to white. And then we're going to go ahead and change the text color to our blue color. There we go. And then we're going to go ahead and turn the rounded corners that it has set here. Let me find it really quick. Rounded corners, we don't want rounded corners. We're going to set that to 0. And then we're going to give these also a border width of 1 pixel, which is right here. And now we've got a nice little box there. It kind of looks like the one we have there. And that looks starting to look better. And now we want to style the drop-down menus. Now we're going to do that by clicking and expanding the drop-down menu section as I did here. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to set the background color of these menus to white. We're going to set the text color to our dark blue color. We're going to again change the menu font weight. Let me find that in here. Here we go. Down to light. And then we're going to want to adjust the letter spacing to be that 1 pixel. And we're using that again here, a little bit larger than the other one to differentiate it, that little bit extra. We're going to change that rounded corners as we did previously to 0. And then we want to give that border also a sizing of 1 pixel. And now you see that things are starting to take a little bit more shape here as far as this goes. So we're going to go ahead and just also make sure that that border color is going to be our blue color, which it should be already, but we'll just double whammy it in there. And then that should be it. And now we're going to add a little bit of code to actually add a padding to this section here. So what we're going to need to do is pull up one of our snippets that we have, which is going to be snippet number 14. Now, you're going to add that here in the add to cart settings by advanced, custom CSS, and then you're going to go down to drop down menus. Now, I'm just going to quickly copy my code here. And again, the code is on the Divi Engine website. Just get snippet 14. You see how that makes that a little bit larger, making it look a little bit better. I think that looks fantastic. Now, what we need to do is just still adjust the button settings for this module to make things look a little bit more similar to what we've got here. Get that green color going. So let's go into the design section here. We're going to go to button. We're going to use custom styles because we don't need those default styles that we created in the first step of this tutorial series. We're going to go down and set the button text color to white. That's going to make things disappear a little bit. Don't worry about that. We're going to set the background color to this hex code, which is going to be hash 00782E. I'm going to paste that in there. And that gives us that green that we have there. Now, the button hover background opacity, which you just click this hover settings button, then you click hover. We're going to click this. We just want to set that to 90% for when the user hovers. I'll show you why. Oh, there we go. When you come here, you see how it goes a little bit lighter? That's how you achieve that here on our side. So we've got that going. We don't want a button icon, so let's go eliminate that really quickly. That's a little silly. And then we're going to put some padding on the button for top and bottom. So padding is going to be 12 and 12. That looks fantastic. And then we're going to put left and right button padding to get that width out of the button to 30. Now that's looking a lot more like what we've got going on over there. And we did that fairly easily with almost no work. And we're almost done with this page, guys. Can you believe it? All we need to do is button up that, no pun intended, that bottom part of this, the information column, and then we're all done with this page. It's exciting stuff. So let's get to that in the next little portion here. Okay, guys, so continuing on here, we need to do just this last little bit. We need to add the shipping and handling button at the bottom. And then we also want to bring in the stock notice that we have here. Remember, we disabled it earlier when we were working on the add to cart section. So first things first, let's add that back in. So let's go Woo. And then we just go to the stock module. And there it just adds that in there really easily and simply. Now what we need to do here is we're just going to go into the actual design settings. We're going to go to in stock text. We want it to be our blue color. And then we'll just add that letter spacing again of the 0.5. There we go. And that's it for this module. But as you can see, there's a lot of different stuff you can do here. You can change the out of stock text. You can change the back ordered text. That's up to you. But this is to serve as a guide on how to do that. So let's finish that one. And last thing, we'll add this shipping and handling button. Now, we're not going to have it pop up in a modal like they do on the actual Abercrombie & Fitch site, but there's a great tutorial that I'll link in the description of this video on the Divi Engine site on how to make Divi modules pop up as modals, and that is how you can achieve that effect. So let's just go ahead and add a button module. And you'll see that it adds our standard button that we've created previously. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and edit this stock button, and we'll change the text to be shipping and handling. Great. Now we just need to continue styling this section. And we're going to go to the design button. And we're going to activate the custom styles again because we don't have any use for this basic styling. So we're going to go ahead and change the button text size to be a little smaller. We're going to make it 12. And then the button border color, we're going to make a gray color. So button border color. And it's going to be that same CCCCCC color to give it that light outline that you have there. And then we're going to change the actual button hover color, the border hover color, the same way we did earlier to be our gray color. So now when we hover it, it's got that. And we want to make sure that there's no icon associated with our button because we don't like that. And then we just go to the spacing of the button. And we just add some top margin of 75 to create some space from that top section with the stock. And then we're going to go to add some padding to the top and the bottom of the button at 12 pixels. And then left and right, we're going to do 15% this time. Just gives us a nice size for that button. And then the last step, and let me just quickly double check something here because I see this is now blue color for the border. Our non-hovered color. Okay, no, that's fine. We've got our gray still, so that's good. The last thing, we just want to put the button smack dab in the middle as it is here. And I think that looks good. And guys, that's it. We've got a product page all set. So let me save this. And for the conclusion here, we're going to go ahead and preview and see what we've done. So we close this out. And now again, that all-important step, you need to save the changes here to be able to view them. Now for this, I'm just going to go visit my store. And it's going to load on up. We've got all of our products here. And let me click on the shirt. And there we have pretty cool looking product page for our site. Now again, this button that we created, you can have that link to anything, or you could go ahead and follow that tutorial that I mentioned earlier. But you can do everything as you would on the Abercrombie & Fitch site. It's even cool when you change the color of the shirt. It changes the image for the shirt. You can zoom in. You can add to cart. You can do everything. And that is it for this part of the tutorial. Now guys, I hope you enjoyed this. Again, this is all broken down into smaller digestible pieces for you so that you guys can rock it and not get too overwhelmed with all the information that we're sharing. I really hope that you guys found this information helpful, and definitely like and subscribe to make sure that you don't miss anything else. Now, if you have any questions, definitely leave a comment below and we'll definitely try our best to get to you. Other than that, guys, this is Roby from the Divi Engine team. I look forward to seeing you guys in the next part of the tutorial series. See you later. Now guys, I hope you enjoyed this. Again, this is all broken down into smaller digestible pieces for you so that you guys can rock it and not get too overwhelmed with all the information that we're sharing. I really hope that you guys found this information helpful, and definitely like and subscribe to make sure that you don't miss anything else. Now, if you have any questions, definitely leave a comment below and we'll definitely try our best to get to you. Other than that, guys, this is Roby from the Divi Engine team. I look forward to seeing you guys in the next part of the tutorial series. See you later.